Jim.
You look around, I'm going. Thank you, thank you.
If I could stay awake long enough to get to the end of that list.
Keith Baylor's coming, so I saw him.
Oh, yeah.
It's right in the middle of. It is.
Bill.
You, sir.
Fine, how about yourself?
Okay, folks, it is 5:30 on January the 17th, and I'm calling the January meeting of the Architectural Review Board to order. So, Mr. Wilson, if you would call the roll, please.
Jim McLean.
Here.
Keith Bailey.
Present.
Paul Moscotti.
Here.
Sandra York.
Present.
Carolyn Lomas.
Here.
Cindy Nord.
Okay, we do have a quorum and so forth. Okay, the agenda has been posted, I assume, as required by law.
Yes, sir, it has.
Okay. The agenda is in front of the board, so if you would look at it, please, and amend or recommend approval. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, there's a motion to adopt. Is there a second?
Second it.
All right, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. And if we would, please, let's stand for the pledge, and the flag is upright. Pledge allegiance to Okay, you all have a copy of the minutes from our December 12th meeting. If you would look at that and either recommend correction or approve as presented. Is there a motion to adopt or amend?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Is there a motion to adopt or amend minutes?
I'll motion to adopt.
Motion to accept the minutes as presented. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Okay, now we're moving into the election of officers for 2023. The first nomination will be for the board chair. And I would, as chair, would like to nominate, if that's permissible, Paul Muscati for the chair for the 2023 year. Paul's, I think, vast his experience in the construction trade, I think, will lend a good credit for him. So that Paul's name is put forward. Any other nominations?
I don't think there's any. You can close it.
Okay, those in favor of Paul Muscati as the chair for 2023, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Now we're up for the election of the vice chair for 2023. Is there a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Keith Bailey. We all know he has had much experience, and he would be a good candidate.
Okay. Mr. Bailey is nominated as vice chair. Is there any other are there any other nominations? Hearing none, those in favor of Mr. Bailey say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Now we have the appointment of the secretary for 2023. And this is a little bit new for me. I assume that we just recommend the appointment of Mr. Wilson, who's currently serving as the secretary. Is that correct?
You could recommend anybody you like.
Beg your pardon?
You could recommend anybody you like.
It's yours? Okay. All right.
I'll be happy to serve another year.
Okay. All right. Is there an official nomination for secretary? I nominate Mr. Wilson. Any other nominations? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. This is a little bit different. I'm obviously resigning as chair, and Paul is officially the new chair.
Respectfully, I would like to ask if you stay on and see the meeting through to the end.
Through this meeting?
Yes, sir.
Is that acceptable to the board?
I second it.
Yes.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Okay. Not mine. Okay, we have 3 items up for review tonight. The first one is discussion and approval of the proposed design, entrance sign, and open space for the townhomes at 158 Langford Road. Mr. Purcell, if you would step forward, please, sir, and guide us through this.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I may, there's a town meeting calendar that needs to get approval.
One item.
Right. We circle back to that.
Okay, sure.
We'll circle back to that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Purcell.
I don't know if you can pull up the items I submitted for examples of what the park is going to be. I understand it's kind of hard to convey my vision of this, but really what we're planning to do is to come in with like a forestry head and underbrush all these smaller trees, and that'll leave behind mulch. And it'll create an area like the picture's shown. So, you can walk through it, you can enjoy it. There's not briars and everything like that. And the big expense would be getting that forestry head in the beginning. After that is done, the maintenance by the HOA would be fairly low. You could just get a bush hog in there to maintain it on probably a semi-annual basis.
Any questions regarding the open space?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
And obviously, anything that goes on there after, at a later date will have to come back to the AR
Sure,
for approval. So this is just
Absolutely.
basically just approving the interest to the townhomes.
I think that's fine. My only other question, you've answered it already, what the frequency of something like that would be, but it doesn't sound like, even a few years, I don't know, it should be.
No, at least annually or possibly semi-annually, depending on how fast everything started to grow up. You'd have to go in there with like a bush hog. But that's a fairly low expense maintenance on the HOA.
No questions? Carolyn?
I don't have any questions.
You have the sign as well. Where is it? You bring the sign up, please.
I did bring some prints of the sign if you all don't have that.
Yeah, I think we accidentally missed putting the sign that Ned put in
Yeah,
for
if you
us,
would,
so.
just bring it forward, please. Okay, I saw it on the computer.
So on the sign, I changed the font, and I took the original pecan cluster drawing that I did, removed the color, and made it much smaller. Just trying to get a more elegant entrance sign. It's funny because when I started off with the first logo, I started to do like a pecan, like a tree outline. And I was like, no, this is too similar to the town of Blythewood's logo. Don't want it to compete or get anyone confused with that.
Okay.
So what is that little,
Those are,
is it a crab? Looks like a crab.
no, those are pecans and leaves.
Oh, okay.
Right.
We say pecans in the south and pecans in the north.
That's right, that's right. I say pecans.
Is that a ground lit sign? In other words, is there any kind of lighting on the side, either from the ground up?
Yes, absolutely. But it would not be an illuminated sign other than outside light. It would be like a sandblasted hanging sign.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the lighting actually has to be down. It's just not
Right.
lit up, but it's
Okay.
light, it's lit overhead. And,
Sure.
any other questions about it? Good. Okay, Carolyn? Okay, then is there a motion to approve these
Motion.
proposed designs?
I'll move, motion to approve.
Motion is made to approve. Is there a second?
A second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Wait a minute, I got one question though, excuse me. The lighting that points down.
Right.
Where would that be arrayed on the sign? Would it be on the columns or across the crossboard up top?
That would be a separate lamp post if we need downlighting.
So it'd be a lamp post. And how tall would this lamp
Right.
post be?
That I have not determined yet.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, the next item is, let's go back if you don't mind. I missed this one item, and it has to do with the approval of the meeting schedule for 2023. And you all have that in your packet, so if you would look at that and also make a motion to approve. Meetings are typically on the third Monday of each month. Except when it's holiday, that would end up changing. there a motion to accept meeting schedule for 2023?
I'll make a motion that we accept the planning meeting calendar for 2023.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Okay, next, Mr. Waters, if you would step forward, it has to do with the Sand Level Baptist Church. And Mr. Waters was with us before at the last meeting, and I think that what we basically approved was you're supposed to come back with us for some additional information on the church siding.
Thank you. And I've also looked at the minutes for the last month as well. I know you all have approved them, but one of the things that was in the minutes was that the windows that we brought forth were approved.
Yes.
That was not what we brought forth. What was approved was not what we asked to be approved. We brought forth to do STLs on the front of the building and to do the interior grids on the education part of the building, which had previously been approved.
Right.
So I don't know if that makes a difference for your records or not, but it was not what we asked for. We asked for simulated in the front and then interior grids on the rear.
Okay.
I'm back today. I've looked at the agenda stuff here tonight. One of the things it mentions is look at reference to 155, 182A4. I actually think that's probably the improper section that applies to the church, as it is a civic organization. I believe it actually would be 155, 182D, which is for religious institutions, which actually does not include the requirements for simulated divided glass windows on there, as some of the other areas in the town do. I don't know if you have any questions about that at all. I know that, Ms. Lomas, Ms. York, you weren't here last month when we brought the windows forward, so if you have any questions about that at all. We have actually reached out to our contractors regarding that, and that change in and of itself will actually drive up the cost of the project 10 to 15% in and of itself, just changing those windows, which would be a significant burden upon the church, obviously. One of the things brought up was the single lap siding last time around and how it looks different than double lap.
Right.
I actually have went and talked with the vinyl siding distributors. Their response was basically, there is no difference. It looks exactly the same. You use them on the same facades. The only difference is you're going to spend twice the money on labor to install it. We have looked at potentially doing a wider profile vinyl siding, which would be an 8-inch single lap siding, which would actually allow us to cut down on the labor cost increases while still doing something that's a little bit wider that we thought may be allowable under the board. I don't know if there's any thoughts on that or anything else. I asked for a sample of that. They said they don't even have samples of those. It's something that is so special order. They can special order to have a picture of it, but I don't have an actual physical sample of that siding.
I'll let the board speak, but it's my opinion that any change like that will have to come back to the board with samples to approve. The concern that I would have would be making sure that the siding on Sunday school rooms and siding on the church have a certain degree of symmetry and match, because I don't think you're going to want different siding styles there. So what does the board feel?
I think that's a legitimate point.
And our intention
We'll have to come back because and I think the windows, if there's confusion about the windows too, I think the windows need to come back for clarification too.
And the siding that we're asking for is to put it on the entirety of the building, not just one area or the other, because that's what the board approved last month, was for us to change the siding on part of the building.
On Sunday school rooms.
Right, that's attached to the same building. So that was our concern, is we're going to end up with a building with two different sidings, because we're not, we don't have approval to do the entire building.
Right. Well, one of the main differences is obviously that the original sanctuary is under the historical guidelines where the Sunday school rooms are not. And so that's why there's some deviation there, but I think your point that there should be some matching component between those two facilities is valid.
Right. And as you drive through Blythewood, you'll see other buildings of the exact same historical designation we have that are vinyl siding buildings. Many other buildings with the same interior grid windows we're asking for, including some built within the last year in the town center. So I don't think it's unreasonable for us to ask that we be, afforded the same windows that even the Historical Society building has the exact same windows we're asking to use.
Right. Oh,
I think to clear up any of the confusion, I think we bring the windows back.
just go back through it.
Okay.
I don't know any other way to get it straight, make sure everybody's on the same sheet. I understand your point, and I appreciate what you're trying to get across, but I think we need to bring the windows back just to make sure everybody's seeing the same thing. I didn't realize there was a difference, what you wanted to provide beyond what was presented to us.
Well, and I presented an option with the interior grid windows that I said we wanted to use on the education part of the wing of the building, and the simulated divided glass we were going to use on the front. Originally, last year when the board approved this, it was approved to use interior grids on the entire building. And we were able to secure the grant from Richland County to get funds where we could offset some of that cost to put the simulated divided glass windows in the front part of the building, which would obviously look better, but it was funds we didn't have available at the time, but to be able to do the interior grids on the rear of the building as previously approved.
And the cost difference you're saying is 10 to 15% or 15 to 20%?
10 to 15%, yes, sir. It's about a $500 difference per window.
I think it's worth bringing the windows back.
I think so too,
Look
yeah.
at it. And I can't remember all that Ralph Walden pointed out, but there was, prior to that approval, we did go back and look at, try to stipulate what grid lines we were going to approve on buttons. And I thought we had it straight. I thought it was understood. I'm obviously wrong. If there's a difference like that, I think it's best to bring it back. Make sure we're all seeing the same thing.
We're putting two different qualifications on two different structures there. The same building, but we're addressing the original church as a historical structure, and the back wing is basically is a not historical structure. And I think the concern that I have is that we make sure that those, whatever we approve between those two are blended correctly.
And our thought was that since we were doing the STLs on the front part of the building, the historical part, that front facade on the education wing, kind of that T,
Right.
we would make that simulated as well, just so it's consistent from the front view of the building,
Sure.
but the rear that no one ever sees.
Right.
We didn't see any reason to spend an extra $20,000 to put external grids on those windows.
Well, the struggle we have, if I can explain it, is that 1011 Church is 170 years old. The original sanctuary that you look at is 170 years old. And it's probably one of the top 5 historical buildings in the county, and maybe even higher than that. And I think we have a real duty to make sure that the historical aspects of that building are not in any way destroyed or abused in any way, not saying that the church is doing that. But I think we do have the responsibility of trying to protect that. And in protecting that, I understand you have Sunday school rooms on the back side that were built in a different era. And we try to, I guess, getting those two to blend is where I think the real challenge obviously becomes. And I guess that takes us on into the church itself as far as what to do with the original sanctuary, as far as taking that siding off, so we can end up understanding the condition of what the original siding is on that original sanctuary. And I don't know if there's been additional thoughts on that or not.
There has, and our thoughts are we're not going to do it. Because the problem is you're asking us to go remove all the vinyl siding
On the sanctuary.
on the sanctuary, and then you're going to look at it and say, we can put it back or we can't put it back. And once we remove it, we no longer have a choice. It's whatever you all decide is what we have to do. And it is not financially feasible for us to paint this building. It's not. It's not an issue of can we paint it today. It's an issue of can we paint it again in 7 years, and in 14 years, and 21 years. Can we keep doing it? And, for our standpoint, the building needs a lot of repairs. Since we were here last time, we no longer have electricity in 3 of the rooms in the building that have quit. We've now had one of the other buildings was flooded during the December 24th weather. So we've now got that building that's going to be going underneath construction. And we've got parking lot that's collapsing in there. And we have to get this behind us and we can't be looking to the next time we have to fix it in 6 or 7 years.
Understand. And this meetings are not set up to be adversarial. We're here to work with you, but we're also here to make sure that what we charged in doing, we meet our responsibility as well. So this is in no way, adversarial with the church, along those lines. The Historical Society has gotten $70,000 in grants the last 2 years for the restoration of the historical building. And Carolyn, I don't know if you want to speak to that, about some of the things that was done there.
Well, I would like to. I think that Sandy Level Church is probably one of the churches that come to my mind when I think about the history of our community. Not only that, when I'm thinking about historical, I'm also thinking about the spiritualness of what that church represents to our community. And I would love to see it be preserved in the best way that it could. And I do know that there are funds available that could help you maybe with part of the work that needs to be done. I don't think it could be for what I'm going to call the Sunday school part, because that's not of historical significance, but this Richland County Conservation, that's what they're here for, is to help preserve the historical sites. So I would love for y'all to pursue that a little bit in lieu of, to be able to get money to help do the project, because it's a tremendous amount of expense that you're talking about.
Sure. And actually, the Richland County Conservation Grant is what we've already obtained. That's how we got the money to make the repairs to the windows where water is leaking into the building and rotting the wood behind the vinyl. Is from the Richland County Conservation Grant.
But you originally got that grant to paint the church, is my understanding. Is that correct?
No, sir. We got the grant that required us to paint the church and to replace the windows.
Okay. But part of it was for painting the church.
Originally, yes, sir.
Okay.
But the church decided they were not going to pursue painting the building. And so
Well, these grants are available every year. From a hardship standpoint, I guess I'm a little bit befuddled why, and I understand the money is important to church. I mean, it's a lifeblood. But these grants are available every year. I think the town has gotten notification that within the last couple of weeks, there's another grant that's available, strictly for restoration. And I just, it seems to me that, that we're sitting here trying to make a decision when we really don't have all the facts. And the fact is, we don't know what the condition of the siding is. And the only way you're going to determine that is by removing a 30-year-old vinyl siding that's about to fall off anyway. And if there's repair work that's going to have to be done on the building, you got to do it anyway. Vinyl is not approved. It's not an approved product. I guess if you got to the point where the building was in such bad shape, maybe hardy product might be a substitute for it. But this board, I don't think, will ever give permission to put vinyl on the main sanctuary.
as you did last year, when you granted it last year.
We granted it last year because we were under the assumption you were doing repair work. And
That wasn't the application. The application was to replace the vinyl last year.
You're absolutely correct, and we made an error, and we did not pick that up. But all the conversation we had with 3 different meetings with Sandy level officials had to do with repairing the vinyl, not replacing it. Those were conversations we had at the town hall. Again, we're not trying to be adversarial, but we are trying to protect the historical aspects of Sandy level church. I'm emotionally tied to the church just like most everybody in the town is. And we understand that you all are too. But it is the most historical building in this town. And if the original signing is at a state that it can't be repaired, then that takes us to the next step. And from a hardship standpoint, what the next option would be, and the only other option I can see is Hardy product or something very similar to that.
I'm under the understanding we do not need board approval to repair what's there. Is that correct?
I think that so much of the church is damaged that we would have to have board approval, yes. That's my understanding. Because the entire front of the church has already been removed.
Well,
How do you,
the top of the eave has been removed.
Well, that's, basically the top front. And the other part of the structure
Yes,
is so
sir.
damaged.
I can say with a high degree of confidence, the church will never vote to paint this building.
Can I ask you why, is it just because of the expense every 7 years that they're looking at? They
Yes,
don't
ma'am.
want to paint? Or is the siding so bad that it won't accept the paint and won't look? Because I missed the last meeting.
The
I'm sorry.
siding's in bad shape behind there. We've pulled back vinyl and looked at it. What we've pulled back is rotten behind it. There are areas where there used to be doors that were removed, and there isn't siding there. There's just wood sheeting where those doors would have been.
So you
We
just
don't
gonna
know.
put- You just gonna put vinyl over it? If it's damaged, the rotten stuff, what are you gonna do with the material that's rotten?
That's a decision we can make when we're there, when we get it off. But what we do know is we can't afford, we've done the analysis, we're looking at about a $300,000 difference over the course of 30 years.
But
Us
let
painting
me
it-
interrupt you, but you can get grants every year to paint that building.
We can apply for grants every year. That doesn't mean we're going to get them. And we can't commit ourselves today for something for 30 years when we don't know where those funds are going to come from. We're here today, it's been taking us 10 years to get here. We can't afford it today. We've gotten grants from Richland County. We've had several one-time either donations or contributions that come in one way or another, and we're having to borrow money to make the repairs we're asking for. So we don't have the money to do today what we're asking to do, but we're trying to do it to preserve the building. But the idea of us having to paint it means that we have to decide today how we're going to start saving money to fix it again in 6 or 7 years, which means we have to decide, are we not going to repair the historic baptismal pool, which we want to do in the back, which is also on the town's historic registry? Are we not going to repair our parking lot that is sinking, that is going to cause major damage or injuries on our property? Are we not going to fix the HVAC units that are collapsing? We have to decide where we're going to spend the money, and committing ourselves to this forever, for every 6, 7, 8 years having to do this, isn't feasible. So we have to look at then, well, what do we start cutting? Do we cut out the charity we do, the mission where we have clothes for the needy in the community, giving food to the school children? What do we cut out to preserve a building? Because our focus is not that building. We're a church, we're here to bring people to God. That's what we want to do. And if you tell me that building, we can spend $500,000 on it, and it'll bring people into the doors and it'll get them saved, sign us up. We all would love to see that building be painted and look like it did many years ago. But we can't afford it. We fought this battle in the church. It's caused a lot of hard will in the church. I know you're well aware of it, Mr. McLean. And that's where we are today. We're at a situation where either we can do what we're asking to do, or we can't do anything, because painting it isn't an option. But we have a deadline for June 1st to finish this window project, or we're going to lose the Richland County grant money. So now we're talking about bringing back next month. So now we're in February ordering windows to get in late April, May. That if we don't finish that project, then we're going to lose that grant money.
So can I ask you, this 300,000 difference in price over 30 years is referring to the painting, or is it referring to other upkeep? What is the difference in price between what you're suggesting as vinyl and putting boards that more resemble the historic?
Sure. So the cost of painting in today's money is around $60,000 to paint the building.
That includes the Sunday school room, I would
It
say.
does.
Okay. That's
Because,
both buildings, yeah.
Right. Because the idea of painting the front and vinyl in the back would look ridiculous.
Right.
I think we can all agree to that. So it has to be one way or the other for the entirety of the building. So if we do vinyl, we're looking at about a 30-year lifespan for the vinyl. And so we looked at that and said, okay, what's the paint going to be? We talked to several painters and contractors. They said 7 to 8 years, you're going to be repainting this building again. So we looked at $60,000 today and extrapolated that out over the lifetime of 30 years.
Well, what is the difference between vinyl and a different kind of siding that would make it look or keep it more in line with the historic look that it has?
The look it has now is vinyl. It has had vinyl for over 30 years on it.
Oh, I thought it was like a board.
Because the church members decided over 30 years ago they couldn't afford to keep it up. That's why they put vinyl on it then.
So you're looking for a different kind of vinyl?
We're just looking to replace it. That's all we want to do is replace it.
I think one thing that we're missing too is that if you put vinyl on it, then your odds of getting a new grant is out the window. You're not going to get grants, to restore a building that hasn't been historically restored correctly. And I think that's one of the things that we dealt with the Historical Society is to making sure that we follow those guidelines to the letter, because we can go back for other grants right every year. But if we put non-approved, non-historical material on it, then we're dead. You know, that was it. We can't go back again.
The difference is that's your mission, is preserving history. That's not our mission. We want to do the best we can to preserve this building for the purpose it has, which is to be a church. And if the church, and we, you know, when COVID hit in 2020, we held church outside in a hay wagon for 26 weeks in a row. And our membership grew. We didn't have bathrooms, we didn't have electricity except for the drop cord that ran out there, and we functioned just fine. And we don't want to go there, but that is what our mission is. It's not preserving this building. We want to do it the best we can.
But that's our mission, unfortunately. Our mission is to preserve the building, and that's where the conflict comes, I guess. Because that's what we're charged with in the ordinance itself.
You know, in my assessment, we're looking at two different things. We're looking at, as Jim said, in terms of how the building looks. You all are looking at how it functions or how you want it to be functioning. So consequently, I think you just need to make a decision. Once this decision is made by this board, to plan accordingly. If we say no, then you need to come up with a way to, in 6 years, to be able to repaint it or what have you.
We won't. We won't paint it.
How can that not even be an option? I don't understand.
We've already been down this path for the last 2 years in the church discussing this issue.
Does the church understand what's available fund-wise for grants? I mean, do they have any feel for the fact that the grants that town level would be entitled to would more than take care of maintaining the outside of the church?
Can you guarantee that today for the next
No,
30 years?
I can't guarantee I'm going to be alive tomorrow.
Right.
No, but those grants obviously have historically been available.
And we've applied for grants in the past and didn't get them.
What grants have you applied for?
I don't have the list of grants we've applied for over the last 20 years, sir.
But you've only applied for one that I know of that you got the grant for, and that's Richland County Conservation.
I don't think we need to get into all of that
No.
in terms of financing and funding.
Well, I understand that the church is concerned about the ability to support their mission in the church. I think that is a valid point. I think the only point that we're trying to make is that there is help for you and support for you, you know, to be able to do both. Allow us to do our job, and obviously allow the church to do what it's commissioned to do as well.
And I understand that, and you know, I think that's why the zoning ordinance is taking into consideration the substantial hardship, where it says that a nonprofit organization shall not be required to comply with these terms if it will prevent the mission of the organization from occurring.
Please say that again. Please say that again.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so in section 155-543, under the certificate of appropriateness, in section J, it says substantial hardship. It says that the property is owned by a nonprofit organization and it is not feasible financially or physically to achieve the charitable purposes of the organization while maintaining the property appropriately, it will be granted a substantial hardship variance.
And I understand that too, but I guess we go back to the fact is I think that you can't, that there is financial aid and support to do what this board is charged to do.
I think if we can start by seeing the different panel, and then we can go from that point on. So I really think that, you know, we can continue to massage this issue, but we're not really getting.
I can show you a picture of it right now.
Yeah, we like to be able to feel and see it, you know, and get a better, you know, a better understanding of what type of material it is.
I have the exact same material in a different profile. So you have the same material, I can show you that it's just 8 inches wide. I'm trying to make sure I give you whatever I can.
And I truly understand your frustration. I truly do. And Jim said, we really want to work with you. But, you know, I'm a touchy-feely kind of guy. I like to see it in my hand and be able to see, at least visualize what it's going to look like as opposed to a picture. There's 1,000 words, but not all the words are what we're looking for.
If the vinyl siding was removed,
Is it the same as what is already on there?
It currently has a 4x4 on there. We're looking at going to an 8-inch, just so the thoughts it would look better because we're all going to do a single lap
ask a question? What was the original boards on the side of the church? What, would you kind of describe to me what that looks like?
Yes, ma'am. It's a regular clapboard siding. I know the Historical Society has the double Dutch, I think, look to it. The sanctuary is originally clap siding. It looks to be about a 5-inch, board on those. They are hand-milled boards, probably. And then, as far as the education wing, I haven't looked at those, but I believe it to be similar in appearance, but more modern. The rear part was built in the 50s.
Oh, yes.
What does the board feel about bringing in somebody to discuss the feasibility of doing the restoration of the church? At least in order to give us a feel for what we're voting on.
I think that's a good idea.
Because the people out there, I think they could look at the church and understand what the church is facing, they could give us guidance.
Yeah.
I think given the charge that we have, in understanding the church's side, I think we need all the information we can get, number one, and some guidance or recommendations. What I said was, I think given where we are and where the church is in this decision, that I think we need all the information, all the educated information that we can get about the subject, what the options are and what's available. We don't want to be the big bad guy trying to enforce what the town's given us to enforce without taking your predicament into consideration. We understand that. The other side of the coin is we could say that the church members have a responsibility as we do. Your plate has got a few more responsibilities on it, along with all the missions that are different items in your mission. But on both of these, on this issue, both of us have a responsibility. And trying to figure out the best way to go about it is what the tough part is. I think it couldn't hurt. I don't know who that individual is, but it couldn't hurt.
Maybe we talk with Ralph and try to get some guidance maybe from him. We might have some suggestion on it as well. We understand too, time's critical.
Yeah, because we can't start the window project until this is resolved. And I don't want us to lose that grant.
We can certainly call a special meeting.
Absolutely, and we try to work with you any way that we can. We're not trying to be punitive in that regard, and we'd be glad to set this up as maybe as soon as we possibly can.
Can the windows and the siding on the church, on the school side, not be treated as one, or you reluctant to separate the two?
The issue is the grant is only for the windows on the sanctuary. So that's where we're under a time crunch, is to replace those windows. But we can't replace those windows until we know where we're going with the siding. Because if the answer is, no, you can't do it, we'll go ahead and order the windows, replace the windows, and repair the siding that's there. If the answer is you can do it, we'll replace the windows and replace the vinyl at the same time. But to do it in two different steps, you're in the industry, you know that you're doubling your cost of equipment, you're doubling label cost, everything else, and we'd have to put vinyl back on there around these windows while we wait for the board to decide whether or not we can ultimately replace the vinyl or not. And we're not here asking to change a historical building to vinyl siding. We're just asking to keep it the same. All we want to do is replace what is already there.
But this, if you look though in the town and what this ordinance directs, look at the town hall, for example. That's an example. Look at the historical house. That's another example. That this town is required of us on historical property, where we can take it back to the original features as best we can. And that's what we're asking, I think, for change level too.
The difference is we can't tax people to pay for it. The town can. I don't want to be crude about it, but we're we're limited in our ability to pull funds in.
Well, and again, I go back to the Historical Society. It's very limited too. It's, you know, it's a small group of people that have taken charge to try to get a building back to its original shape. So we understand the financial aspects of that too. And our mission is totally different from yours, but still, those grants are available for that as well.
And that's a correction. The town doesn't collect any taxes.
Okay,
Yeah.
good enough. Thank you for correcting that.
Don't put that out there.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Right.
One of the few towns that don't. Thank you.
And I guess, again, that the only thing that I think it is important that we make sure that Sunday school rooms and sanctuary blend. We don't want two drastically looking different facilities there, and I think that would be a tremendous error on our part. So I think it is important that we get the looks of those two facilities
Yes, sir.
alike.
Jim, you think we could get Ralph to take a look at it and give us some insight, fairly short order? That perhaps someone knows Mr. Walden's schedule?
What maybe like to do, maybe with you and Paul and Ralph and Mr. Williams get together and bring somebody in as quick as we can, give us guidance. Is that okay with you? You make that a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we bring in or hire either through Mr. Ralph Walden or a recommendation from Ralph Walden on a professional to come visit the church with us, come up with recommendations on how best to proceed.
I would like somebody for the church maybe to be involved in that as well. Now, I
Yes,
don't know
sir.
who you would recommend from a church standpoint.
It would be me. I'm the chair of the facilities committee.
Right, okay. All right.
And so as we stand here, I want to make sure I understand, nothing has been approved for us to do anything right now.
I think under the circumstances, I think that's correct. And everything was put on hold, you know, at the last meeting, so I think that is correct, yes. But we'll try to get that resolved in a couple of weeks. Does that work with you time-wise?
Will we have to come back for another hearing or a meeting? What,
We'll
I don't understand.
We
the
can
process.
have a call meeting. We'll set up a call meeting. It's convenient with you in order to review this.
All right. And what, is there a certain timeline for calling the meetings for notice and publication and all?
But it's but it's like a
Yeah, I mean, we can,
48 hours.
yeah, we can work with you to do that. I mean,
Thank you.
do it as quickly as everyone can, meets everyone's schedule.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And have a good day, too. Thank you, sir. Okay, let's put that in form of a motion. Paul, would you mind doing that? And we can vote on it.
I'd like to make a motion that in working with Ralph Walden, we request his recommendation on a professional consultant to review the condition of the siding at the church and to come up with recommendations on how we can proceed.
All right. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, any other discussion? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Okay. Okay, the next one has to do with 432 McNulty Street, with the subway. And Mr. Bailey, would you please come forward? And I guess for background on this, that what we're reviewing actually is work that's already been done. This is looking at it from the rear and not from the front, and so forth. So
Yes, sir.
you would give us a presentation that you have today.
Yes, sir. My name is Alex Bailey. I'm the franchisee of the store at 432 McNulty Street, the Blythewood subway. In the spring of this last year, the plans were put together as part of our remodel of the store, which all subways do once every 7 to 10 years. And those plans were done by corporate with some input from me, but mostly that was done actually at the state regional level. And then the plans were given to me, given to the contractor, and then the painting was done. There was a lot of turnover, unfortunately, at the staff. Actually, the entire state office was closed the day my plans were given to me. So we went ahead with the paintwork, not knowing the architectural review requirements that were done there. So it is an example of, instead of bringing you a sheet of the paint swatches, we actually painted the entire building as it is. So I'm here at this point to discuss or answer any questions you have and let me know what we need to do to be in compliance with the town.
We'd like to make one point, though, that if the business license were as required by the town were applied for, this would be a moot point, because at that
Yes,
point,
sir.
it would have been stopped, and you would have been informed that you have to come to the BAR for approval of colors.
Yes, sir.
So again, that's, should be in the record as well, so.
Yes, sir.
Board has, the, I guess, photographs of the current building.
There are plans there that, I do have photographs, but I don't believe they're in this presentation packet. There are renderings that are there that's being put on the screen right now.
Did the town not make photographs of it?
I don't think we have them in the packet.
Town has pictures, but I just don't believe they're in the packet.
Everybody understands what we're looking at?
So you have 4 color combinations, well, actually 3, of the gray base trim that goes around the building, the more tan the majority of the paint as a percentage, and then you have the green accents that are over the front of the building. That is the side entrance, main door entrance of the building. And then the names of the paint colors are illustrated there as well.
I think what I'm hearing that most folks are concerned about are the 2 bright green facades there on the front and on, I guess, what I call the east side of
Yes, sir.
of the building and so forth, as being outside of what this board would normally approve. And that has to do with the brightness of the colors and so forth.
Yes, sir. Are any of the other colors also at issue, or just mostly the green?
I think that what I'm hearing, and let the board speak for itself, what I'm hearing basically are those big center bands, green, and on the front and also on the east side.
In subsequent discussions I've had with the corporate office, they mentioned that base that goes around that light gray color, if we wanted to, we could extend that up and just do those sides as that color as well.
The center green bands you're talking about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just
make
remove
that
all the
gray.
green except for the logo, but, well, there's no green in the logo, but yes, those can be overdone. That would not be difficult really to do, if that is an acceptable proposal.
Make sure I understand, you're talking about bringing the gray.
So if you look, there is and I can actually have swatch samples if you wanted to see that as well. But I can give to you. But if you scroll up a little bit on the screen, Kirk, if you scroll a little bit up,
We just have to give us a couple minutes and get back to email back and forth.
yes, sir. Do you see if you see that is the drive-through side, do you see how that gray comes up? If there's no green on that side of the building, you could basically do the same thing around the other 2 sides, if that would be more acceptable.
Got one to email it to you, one of y'all?
I've got,
You already got it?
no, when, you just give us a couple minutes to log off here and get it from Kirk's email.
You're saying substitute the gray for the green?
Yes, sir, if you, yeah.
Just give us a couple minutes to do this.
And you mentioned that the green was what was really,
The issue,
the issue right here.
wow, there it is, it's green.
I just sent you another photograph. Amen.
It's one of those kind of things, like you pick it out and the swatch is that big. But to be honest, I really didn't have any personal decision-making capacity here.
Yeah, it's kind of bright.
Doesn't meet our guidelines.
It does stand out, yes. And it gets used across the country.
Give us 1 minute if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
So would the awnings, would they stay green? They would stay green?
Yes, ma'am, those awnings would stay green.
But the green all the way around the awning itself would go gray.
Building itself would be back.
Gray.
The green accent, basically the center of the building that's green with the more tan to each side, that green, we could take the gray, it trims the bottom, it is also on the drive-through side.
Right.
And there's a picture. But I don't believe you're going to be able to see it because that's the back corner.
Is that a corporate approved green? Is that-
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Everything
really?
was basically handed from on high
Oh.
to me. Here's your plans, here's everything you need to do.
Did they give you any deviation?
So you can't like tone it down?
No, the deviation is only coming up now. It's, there you go, that's a good picture of the front. So if you go all the way to the bottom, do you see the gray, the difference in the color? 2 feet up or 2.5 feet up off the ground versus the more tan? If you could take that gray and extend it up if you'd like and replace that green.
And just the awnings would stay green?
Just, yes, ma'am. Because those awnings aren't painted, they
They're-
become like that.
That only occurs on the front elevation.
It occurs in 2 places. It occurs in the front elevation and from street, the right side.
Would you not consider just painting it back with the beige that's on the rest of the building?
The beige
Is it
that's
a
on the
beige?
rest of the building?
The gray's at the bottom, if I'm looking at it correctly, right?
I'm open to whichever color you like. I'm just saying that's the suggestion. If I tell them this is what the board's decision is, then that's what we'll do.
Yeah, just from what I can see, I think, again, that you have a different color on the bottom here. You have the main body of the building itself is all the same color. Yeah. Same, yeah. Okay.
Natural tan.
Okay. Any other comments?
I would keep the gray at the bottom.
Right.
Yes, ma'am, we're doing that. I was saying if you just take that same color and apply it to where it's green, extend it.
So gray all the way around.
Yeah, but the upper part would end up being the same color, the base color of the building itself.
Okay, I think-
Well, the base color of the
I think
building
he's
is
saying
2
two
different
things.
colors. So
Right, the lower part of it's gray.
there are 3 colors. The lower part is gray. It's more of a beige, or not beige, but a tan for the majority of the building, from 2 feet off the ground to the top, and then you have the green accents at the front and over the side entrance. So those green accents can just extend the gray, it's the bottom section, just paint it that same color all the way up.
Isn't that like on the side of the building or around the back here that you have
Which, I'm sorry,
Is-
we say it.
on this picture right here? Is the gray is extended up?
Yes, that's the drive-through side.
That's the drive-through, so it would
Yes,
look
ma'am.
just like that?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am, exactly. So you could, it would actually give it symmetry.
Yeah.
Where the refrigerator and freezer are.
I think the gray for the front, for the place it.
Yeah,
the same.
so it looks like the back there, the side.
All right. I make a motion that we replace green colored paint
Yes, sir.
with the gray that runs along the base of the building on the front elevation as well as one side elevation.
East side,
East side.
Side,
each side, right here.
I guess that would be south and east sides.
Yes, sir.
Awnings and so forth were made green.
That's correct.
I'll second that.
All right, the motion made that the center part of the building would be replaced with the gray on both what I guess, both front side and the east side. Is there any other discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you.
All right, this Nobody signed up for the open citizens comment. So, other than that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second?
Second?
Favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Jim?
Sure.